Jordan Bell at Texas A&M AgriLife Research and Extension. Today we're going to look at the High Plains Uniform Variety Trials at Bushland. Right now we're at the irrigated wheat nursery. Within this wheat nursery there's our uniform variety trial in addition to the wheat breeding program's breeding plots. So when we talk about our uniform variety trials, these are trials that are conducted all across the state. Our High Plains trials are planted across 7 locations this past year. And within the trials there are 36 different varieties. So the trials provide producers unbiased comparisons of how varieties perform in High Plains production system. When we look at multiple year data, we compile a picks list for producers. When we look at variety performance, we do want to see how varieties perform under both management conditions as well as different environmental conditions. And this does provide producers the ability to evaluate variety stability. So our picks list is actually a list of varieties that we have evaluated for multiple years. We have a minimum of 3 years data that is yield data in addition to the disease tolerance as well as insect tolerance. So these are well-rounded varieties for the Texas High Plains production systems. Our picks list include varieties that are recommended for irrigated conditions, limited irrigated conditions, as well as dry land conditions. And so this provides producers a very narrow set of varieties based off of performance in the respective production region. This is TAM 204. This is a variety that was released by Texas A&M in 2014. It is an on-list variety that is very good for hay production as well as graze out conditions and even dual purpose production. It is a variety that it has resistance to the wheat curl mite as well as the green bug, and resistance to the wheat curl mite actually gives it resistance to wheat streak mosaic virus. This is a variety that has shown to also have a very good yield potential, although it does have a lower test weight. One of the things that we are evaluating is potential freeze injury. We did have a hard freeze a week ago, and so this field at that time was susceptible to freeze injury. However, when we look at the canopy, we have a very dense canopy, so that did help buffer the temperature change. In addition to that, when we also look at freeze injury, we consider the duration of the freeze. And at Bushland, we were actually below 32 degrees for only about 2 hours. So we are not currently seeing any freeze injury from last week's freeze. However, we are expecting a Easter freeze as well as potential snow within the next 3 to 4 days. So as temperatures have warmed over the past week and the wheat has continued to develop, we are increasing our risk for freeze injury, and we will be closely monitoring freeze injury at this location as well as at other sites. this wheat is actually farther along. This field was planted on October the 14th, and we are currently flag. In this field, we do see quite a bit of leaf burn from the recent freeze, but fortunately, when evaluating the head in this field, we really don't have any yield limiting freeze injury from last week's freeze, because we are now in the flag stage, and as we're concerned about the upcoming freeze that's expected this next week, we are going to be very concerned about freeze injury. As we look at these plants, we see this is the flag leaf that has emerged. And so that developing head has actually moved up fairly high within the plant. And as the head moves higher, of course, it's much more susceptible to freeze injury. So TAM 115 is actually a little later than TAM 114. This variety is just starting to reach flag. Probably only 30% of this variety is at flag in comparison to TAM 114 that was slightly farther along. This is TAM 205. TAM 205 is also a dual-purpose variety that has very good fall forage production. It also is resistant to both leaf and stem rust, as well as stripe rust. This variety is also resistant to the wheat curl mite, which does give it resistance to the wheat streak mosaic virus. And this variety is also noted for having very good test weights, as well as good recovery from grazing.